How's it going, everyone? I am the Shaz here, going over the projected schedule for the Love Live All-Stars global server in the month of June. I've been trying to come up with a witty tagline for this month, but hell, the only thing that's consistent about this month is that a lot of Star Gems will be spent by both the meta chasers and the prospective event tierers, and I'll explain why over the course of the video. The first part we'll cover in this video is the re-emergence of Dream Live Parade, this time as an evergreen event? No, not that evergreen. Let me clarify. On the JP server, this Dream Live Parade announcement was made right as the Signs of Spring Marathon event was ending, detailing a few changes to the event. Dream Live Parade was, for this instance, scheduled to run for a total of 23 days with 2 full team refills during the period. In addition, this Dream Live Parade update added 15 songs to the Aqua Tower. Ultimately, I think this is a good thing. This gives players the chance to clear these objectives for DLP tokens and Star Gems while removing some of the anxiety of a very short time frame to complete. Now, does this mean we'll stop seeing some of those easier to clear, only see them once towers like the Attribute Towers or the Niji on Stage Tower? I honestly don't know. What I do know though is that this change to Dream Live Parade is a step in the right direction to changing the perception of the event as a whole. Along with this new Dream Live Parade update, we'll be getting the Story Chapter 26 update, featuring the Attribute version of Mirai Ticket and the 3D version of Neo Sky, Neo Map, the ending song for Season 1 of the Niji anime. First, let's cover Mirai Ticket, which comes into the game as a natural attribute song. Covering 189 notes, this song has a non-cleansable 20% off attribute appeal debuff and has a 9.45 million voltage requirement to S rank on advanced. When removing the appeal chance voltage rewards, the raw voltage total comes down to roughly 6.7 million. There are 6 appeal chances in the song, with the only difficult one being the last, which requires a very hefty 160k voltage gauge pop. This song would probably be a good instance of utilizing some of those SP gauge bombers that are normally considered weaker cards, like Fluffy White Snow Nico, Noble Princess Riko, Initial Hanamaru, and Charming Devil Emma, just to name a few. The second new song is Neo Sky, Neo Map, the ending song for Season 1 of the Niji anime. This pure attribute song comes with a 7.23 million voltage requirement to S rank on advanced and has a non-cleansable 20% appeal debuff to all cards. I can tell you from experience, playing this song can be very infuriating, as it forces your team building into a very specific direction, which is dictated heavily by the appeal chances. The first and last appeal chances require SP gauge pops and give Niji cards a 100% SP gauge gain increase. The second and fourth are flat voltage requirements but give Niji cards a 50% boost in appeal. And the third AC will cause the most rage, as it requires you to get 12 crits in 15 notes. This is slightly offset by a 50% increase in crit rate for Niji cards, but it's still frustrating. Because most of us got the card free from the anime story, one of the best cards to utilize for this song is actually Miracle Voyage Shizuku, due to her tap active, which increases crit rates for cards in her strategy. Try as best as you can to build a full Niji frontline when attempting this song for their first time. It'll really help. As always, a new story update brings another Fest banner, and this one is a doozy, featuring Fest UR's Emma and Riko, with SR's No Brand Gross Maki and Happy Party Train Maru. As we typically do with new events or banners, we'll quickly touch on the SRs. Maru is the better of the two cards, being a natural attribute SP type gauge filler. Her stats are okay for an SR, but nothing to get overly excited over. No Brand Gross Maki, on the other hand, is not very good, as she is an active attribute damage reduction SR. The face of this Fest banner, Relaxing Lullaby Emma, is her 6th UR overall that comes as a natural attribute SK type. At Limit Break 0, Emma starts off with 7,000 base appeal, 2872 base stamina, and 8074 base technique, good for a 39.22% crit rate. If these numbers sound familiar, It's because this card has the exact same stat line as Fest I from last Fest banner. The similarities don't stop there. Emma's tap active is the same, providing a crit rate up of 19% for cards in her strategy for the next 5 notes at skill level 3. She also has the same type of passive, increasing the appeal for other natural attribute cards by 4.6% at skill level 3. Her LSA is the only difference, as it provides a crit rate increase to other natural attribute cards of 15% for the next 3 notes every time you use your SP gauge. Much like the Fest I from the last banner, this card can be either a frontliner or a backliner, depending on what song you're playing and your card pool. At higher limit breaks, this card should be a strong consideration for Center 3 duties due to her high appeal and technique. All of that being said, would I be happy if I pulled this card? Of course. Would I actively be hoping to pull this card on the Fest banner? Nah, not really. A good to have, but not a gotta have. 7 out of 10. The other card on the banner, not the case. Lovely Nurse Riko enters the game as an active attribute SP type card. At Limit Break 0, Riko starts with 7296 base appeal, 5472 base stamina, and 5472 base technique. Her tap active is what the Voltage Whales have been clamoring for, as it provides an SP gauge fill of 8% at skill level 3. Her passive is also pretty amazing, as it provides a 6% appeal increase to cards in her strategy. Her LSA is very interesting, and cements the card in the active attribute meta, as whenever you use your SP gauge, this Riko has her skill activation rate increased by a whopping 30% for the next 3 times she taps. As someone who sparked this card on JP with 6 months worth of save gems, I can tell you, this card is bonkers. In a regular live setting, I am able to score over 14 million voltage with this card, Fest Kanan and Fest Setsuna. If you fancy yourself as a voltage ranking competitor and have a max limit break Fest Kanan and Fest Setsuna, I would highly suggest for pulling for this card if you're able to spark it. If you don't have the gems to pull for this card right now or are not very interested in voltage competitions, feel free to skip it. My personal grade on the card at the time of its release, 9 out of 10. Oh, that's right. Along with the new Fest banner, we also get a change over on the attribute banners. They are now replaced with year banners. The same rules apply. A 2x rate up on this banner for all first year cards, but you don't get shiny quartz pieces for pulling, meaning you can't spark anything off of this banner. My thoughts on this banner are the same as the attribute banners. Feel free to do daily paid gem pulls if you want to, but don't waste your gems on solo YOLOs or multis. It'll be a complete waste, so just save those gems for Fest banners. Along with the new banners, we got our 12th edition of SBL, which, as per normal, I'll be doing a separate video on. For those of you that can't wait for that, however, here is the song list: Just Believe, Niji Ito Passions, and Neo Sky Neo Map. The first traditional event in the month of June will be the Dreamy Kids Land Exchange event, which coincided with Children's Day in Japan. The event features Event UR Umi, Event SR's Just Believe Ayumu and Happy Party Train Mari, Event Gacha SR No Brand Girls Ellie, and Event Gacha UR's Kanan and Nina. Speaking of the Event Gacha, it now goes back to 1 banner instead of 2 split banners, which is good for casual players, but less so for those players that use pay gems to acquire radiance via daily paid gem pulls. There was also a significant change to the event drop rates starting with this event. The free event SRs for exchange events now start off providing a 15% increase to exchange event item drops, capping out at 30% per card if you max limit break it before the end of the event. For those of you that struggle a little bit with math, it's a 3 percentage point increase per limit break. The free event UR will now start at 30% and cap out at 50%, providing a 4 percentage point increase per limit break. The most radical change comes to the event gacha. If you want to tier and pull the event gacha SR, you will get a 50% drop or point increase, no matter how high the limit breaks on the card are. Likewise, event gacha URs will now provide a 100% drop or point increase. To put this in perspective, if you wanted to tier one of the older events and took all event cards to max limit break, you would receive a 169% increase to your event drops or points. With the new changes, you would be maxing out at a 360% increase. It will definitely shake up the tiering landscape, but how much it will change the numbers is yet to be seen. Oh, before we go over the new cards, can't forget about the new song and voltage ranking songs. The trial song for this month, one of my favorites, Cutie Panther by BB. Now if we could only get those sweet leather outfits from the Psychic Fire Sakaku Crossroads album cover. Come on everyone in the comments, let's be real. If you already spend money on the game, you would spend for your favorite subunit's costume pack, right? The voltage ranking songs for this event are Mogyuto Love Desekin Chu, Strawberry Trapper, and Tanoshi no Tensai, Ai's third solo. Before we talk about the free event UR, our obligatory quick note on the SRs. Bleh. Happy Party Train Mario is a weak active attribute voltage type SR with a same year appeal buffing passive. Just believe Ayumu is a cool attribute SK type stamina shielder, but she gets the Veggie Wonderland Kotori treatment. The shield she generates comes from a percentage of her lowest stat, with this card's lowest stat being stamina. No Brand Gross Ellie is a natural attribute guard type stamina healer, but this isn't really new coming out of the SR slot. The free event UR is Dreamy Kids Land Umi, an active attribute SK type that is Umi's 8th UR overall. Assuming you tier high enough to get her second copy, Umi starts with 6272 base appeal, 4603 base stamina, and 6143 base technique. Her tap active provides a 7% appeal buff for the next 5 notes to all Muse cards at skill level 3. Her passive is also tied to Muse cards, increasing their base appeal by 4.9% at skill level 4. Her LSA is a little awkward, as it has a 25% chance to increase skill activation by 36% for the next 5 notes after you clear an appeal chance. Much like other cards that are tied to either a school, attribute, year, or type, as you move further and further away from the restrictions of the appropriate part of the kit, the card becomes markedly weaker. While this card does have a decent appeal stat at max limit break, it comes in the attribute with most of the strongest cards in the game. A very disappointing 3 out of 10 card. The first card in the event gacha we'll go over is Dreamy Kids Land Kanata, her 8th UR overall, that comes as a cool attribute guard type. At limit break 0, the Dolphin starts off with 6276 base appeal, 4658 base stamina, and 7000 base technique, giving her a 36% crit rate. Her tap active provides a stamina shield equal to 26% of her stamina at skill level 3. Her passive is pretty restrictive, as it increases the stamina of other cool attribute cards by 4.6% at skill level 3. Her LSA is actually pretty nice, as it provides a guaranteed stamina heal of 8.5% of this card's stamina every time you clear an appeal chance. The easiest comparison for this UR stat-wise is Initial Yo, as this card has a very high appeal stat, low to middling stamina, and a decent technique value. This card is better than Yo stat-wise, but her kit leaves a lot to be desired. I will note that at max limit break, this card has over 11,000 base appeal, over 12k base technique, and a 52% crit rate, so pulling extra copies of this card isn't too shabby. 6 out of 10 card in my eyes. The best card of the event comes in the form of Dreamy Kids Land Rina, her 6th UR overall that pops in as a pure attribute voltage type. At limit break 0, Rina starts off with an eye-popping 7942 base appeal, 2287 base stamina, and 7415 base technique. Her tap active provides other Niji cards with a voltage gain of 9.4% for the next 3 notes at skill level 3. Her passive gives her a bit of flexibility, granting a 4.6% appeal boost to other pure attribute cards at skill level 3. Her LSA provides a guaranteed 2% voltage gain increase to all other pure cards from the start of Alive. You've probably heard about this card in Discord servers, Facebook groups, and Reddit, but this card is insanely powerful from a non-whale perspective. At Limit Break 0, this card has the second highest base appeal pre-passives, trailing only the first Fest Kanon by a measly 45 appeal. At Max Limit Break, this card trails Fest Kanon by 81 base appeal, but has 2700 more technique. With all that said though, if you're needing a strong pure attribute card in your collection and you want to spark for this arena, I'm not going to stop you. This is the strongest non-Fest card we have to date based on appeal alone. And the fact that this card comes in the pure attribute, which doesn't really have many great non-Fest scoring options, is great for the casual player. 9 out of 10 card. The next banner is the newest party banner, featuring highlighted UR Kanata and SR No Brand Girls Kotori. Kotori is an elegant attribute voltage type, which now makes 3 party banners in a row where the new SR is of that attribute and typing. The card itself is good, not great. It has a decent base appeal stat at Max Limit Break, but the portion of the card that is really out of place is her base stamina value, which is almost equal to that of her appeal. Outside of costume collection and Oshi scouting, I wouldn't really worry about this SR. The main event, and the reason why this may be the most highly scouted non-Fest banner to date on the global server, is because of fluffy Good Nighttime Kanata, who comes into the game as an elegant attribute SP type. At Limit Break 0, Kanata starts off with 8922 base appeal, 3049 base stamina, and 11,498 base technique, which is good for a 49.49% crit rate. Her tap active is an SP gauge fill, filling up 8% of the SP gauge at skill level 3. Her passive gives her really good flexibility as it increases the base appeal of other elegant attribute cards by 6.1% at skill level 5. Her LSA is a super buffed version of one we've seen before, as the first 20 times you use your SP gauge, add a whopping 30% of this card's appeal as voltage. As many of you may know, SP gauge fill tap active cards are considered high priority cards for those who concern themselves with voltage rankings, and this card is one of the best in the game for it. At Max Limit Break, this card has over 12k base appeal and over 15k base technique, boasting a bare minimum 61.47% crit rate before the application of any bond level, bond board, and passive ability bonuses. If you were to pair this Kanata with the first Fest Ellie and initial Yohane, she'll end up with over 17k technique with just those 2 passives alone. I've said it before for cards on the recent Fest banners, but this Kanata is now the new flag bearer for best card to run in your Center 3 due to her high appeal and even higher technique value. Coupling that with a third viable elegant attribute gauge filler and a live show active that works in concert with what this card is designed to do, this card is a must-have for any meta chasers that have the first Fest Ellie and initial Yohane at Max Limit Break. 10 out of 10 card. The last event for the month of June should be the Around the World Marathon event, featuring free event UR Maki, free event SRs Just Believe Emma and No Brand Girls Nico, event Gacha SR Happy Party Train Yo, and event Gacha URs Kasumi and Yohane. This event, like the Children's Day event, also brought over the new point drops for event and gacha cards, but also gave a new twist. If you happen to use any cards of any members associated with the event, in this instance Maki, Nico, Yo, Yohane, Emma, or Kasumi, you get a 10% increase to your item point gain rate. This goes for all of the event cards too, so the free event SRs start with a 25% point gain rate. The free event UR Maki starts with a 40% rate, the Gacha SR Happy Party Train Yo gives a 60% rate, and the Gacha URs Kasumi and Yohane give a whopping 110% point gain rate. This, coupled with a change in how the rewards are given for tiering, caused quite the stir over on JP, as within the first 24 hours, the the top of the tiering leaderboard had over 21 million event points. Oh yeah, the event SRs. Not surprisingly, they're at best average. Just Believe Emma is an elegant attribute guard type stamina healer. No Brangro's Nico is a cool attribute voltage type that's a slightly weaker version of Snow Halation Kotori. And Happy Party Train Yo is a weird, elegant attribute SK type scorer with a high crit rate and the same attribute appeal buffing passive. The free event you are this time around is Around the World Maki, a natural attribute voltage type. Since you should be able to get a second copy of this card, at Limit Break 1, Maki starts off with 7174 base appeal, 6439 base stamina, and 3249 base technique. Her tap active gives an appeal increase for all other natural cards by 6.6% at skill level 3. Her passive makes her pretty weak for backlining, as it gives all other first years an appeal boost of 4.9% at skill level 4. Her LSA is also tied to other first years, giving a voltage gain of 8% for the next 5 notes, triggering at a 50% rate after appeal chance completion. This Maki, who has obviously bought her own airplane with all that doctor money, now has the highest base appeal for any free UR given out over the course of the game thus far, topping out at an 11,351 base appeal value at max limit break. There are many drawbacks to the card, mainly her passive and her LSA, but her very high stamina stat for a voltage type, combined with a very low base technique, makes this card okay for scoring, but a very weak center 3 card, 6.5 out of 10. The first gacha UR we'll go over is Around the World Kasumi, who is an active attribute guard type card. At Limit Break 0, Kasumi starts with 2994 base appeal, 7492 base stamina, and 6708 base technique. Her tap active is the standard non-fest stamina heal, healing for 26% of her stamina at skill level 3. Her passive is a little odd, but in a good way, as it increases appeal of other active attribute cards by 4.6% at skill level 3. Her LSA is another weak one, buffing the appeal of other active attribute cards by 4% for the first 5 notes of the song. This card is not bad by any stretch, as she can end up being a beefy stamina stick in your backline that can boost appeal of your frontline scorers. The issue that I have with this card is that it comes in a very crowded attribute for sustain cards, as I would still prefer Initial Ruby, First Fest Riko, and Second Fest Ellie over her if I am looking to increase my scoring. 5.5 out of 10. The second card of the event gacha is Around the World Yohane, a smile attribute SK type. At Limit Break 0, our Doctor starts off with 7,000 base appeal, 2510 base stamina, and a whopping 8437 base technique, good for a 40.31% crit rate. I repeat, at Limit Break 0. Her tap active is very restrictive, as it boosts appeal of other first years by 6.6% for the next 5 notes at skill level 3. Her passive is better by leaps and bounds, as it provides an appeal boost to all other cards in her strategy by 6% at skill level 3. Her LSA is awkward to say the least, giving a crit rate increase for cards in her strategy by 10% for the next 3 notes, though it has a 20% chance to activate whenever she taps. Houston, we have a problem here. If me reading out the base stats sounded kind of familiar, that's because this card has a similar stat line to 2 of our last 4 Fest cards, I and Emma. The problem is that this card starts off with more technique than both of them. According to Kirara, at max limit break, this card tops out at 15,100 base technique, giving a 60.3% crit rate. This card, an event gacha card, now takes over the title of being the best center 3 card in the Smile attribute. While it isn't a voltage type to match the meta, this card is plenty powerful on its own, though not having a voltage boost tap active keeps the card from being completely broken. The power creep is happening, gang. 9 out of 10 card. And with that, we conclude this video on the events slated to come to the Love Live All-Stars global server in the month of June. This will most likely be the last of these super long preview videos, so if you've been watching them, thank you. Because we're getting closer and closer to a calendar sync, these videos will probably cover a smaller time frame and will be a 2-part series. Finally, as always, a big thanks to Xifrid for help with the visual assets for this video. I've been I Am the Shaz, take it easy, be nice to each other, and I'll see you all next time.